And as we bring Richard in, I just want to remind everybody, if you're looking for an opportunity, please do go to our site. Hi, Richard. We'll say hi to you.
Hi, Catherine. Hi, Trevor.
Hey, what's going on?
So definitely go to our site, www.careerlaunch2020.com. Go to opportunities. There are dozens upon dozens of opportunities, including with Heather's company. So go to Titan Management if you want to see the opportunities that are with working with Heather. She's wonderful. So and so is Chase Harmer, the president of their company. So I highly recommend that. But also connect to any of us on LinkedIn, man. Trevor will respond to you. He'll talk to you. He'll help you out. I will. I know Richard will as well. So Richard, I mean, I'm excited to talk to you, man. I mean, you do recruiting for PepsiCo, which is huge. So tell me, what have you been up to lately?
Well, we're still virtually going to college campuses and looking for people. My area of recruiting is marketing, and I'm a marketer at PepsiCo, and our marketers go to colleges and find people that we think would be good fits for our marketing department, and then we recruit them into our company.
So everybody kind of recruits at your company?
Yes, different departments recruit for their departments. HR helps, but we like to send the people who are going to be working with the new hires to the campuses so that we can find people that we think fit well with our company.
That's awesome, and that's a great model because you've got to make sure they. So do you did they officially do them, or is it kind of like feeling about this person?
You're cutting out a little bit. Trevor, could you understand what Catherine was saying?
No. She cuts in and out, but it's all good. We keep going. We roll with this thing.
Okay, can you repeat it, Catherine?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me now? Okay. So when they're going out and recruiting, are they actually interviewing them, or is it just, hey, we found this talent, we like them, let's move on? And let's bring them on board.
What we do is we typically go to campus right as the school year starts, so in September, and we tell the students what we're looking for. And we explain to them what we want to see on their resumes, how we want them to answer interview questions, and then we'll come back a month or two later and we'll see which students really paid attention and which students prepared for writing their resume and answering interview questions the way we like to see them answer. And the way we approach it is if a student can market themselves, then we feel like maybe they could market our snacks and beverages. If a student can't market themselves and they don't understand what we're looking for and they can't put it on a resume and can't put it in an interview answer, then we figure they probably won't be as effective at marketing our products as other students who do a better job of marketing themselves.
Hey, Richard, I got a question for you. So I've seen like decorative resumes, you know what I'm talking about? They're like little marketing slicks. But I know that they don't necessarily make it through the ATS or get through the system. Like, do you guys respond well to those? They're like little marketing slicks. It's a resume, but it's just a different format.
Absolutely not. Those resumes don't get through our ATS system. Those resumes, we almost wonder if somebody's trying to disguise the fact that they don't fit for the job. We like very simple one-page resumes. On average, our resumes, a really good resume only needs 350, 400 words, but they have to be the right 400 words. So we're looking for people who know the marketing keywords. They put the keywords on their resume and they explain to us that they can do the job that's in the job description.
And I will say in your field specifically, I do feel that that's important with the keywords. I have mixed feelings on that in general as a recruiter, but in marketing, you're correct because you have to use keywords in marketing, right? That's imperative. You have to know how to use.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. If we have on our job description that we want somebody who has experience with social media posts, then a resume should absolutely say social media posts or Google Analytics or media purchasing. So if a candidate reads our job description and they read their resume and it doesn't match, they know they have to go back and rewrite their resume so that they demonstrate the skills they have that match what we're looking for. So.
Right. Absolutely. And we have a question. Do you do this for non-entry level employees as well? The same process of interview and that type of thing?
Yes, with experienced hires, that's what we call people who are already out of college. We like to have them submit their resume. So they submit it to the company website, or they find us through LinkedIn Jobs or Indeed or Glassdoor or one of the job posting sites. We will run the resumes through the ATS systems. So for those of you who aren't familiar with it, the applicant tracking systems look for keywords on resumes.
Mm-hmm.
And if a resume doesn't have the right words on it, then it will automatically get screened out. If the resume has the right words on it, then it will pass through so a human can look at it. The right words for us are the words that are on the job description. So we tell people exactly what we want to see on the resumes by giving them a job description and say, these are the skills we're looking for. These are the requirements we want to see. If people match those skills on their resume, they're more likely to get through the system.
What are your thoughts on tools like JobScan that kind of help people to do that, right? Because, you know, I deal with the community all the time, and this is a big hot topic, which is the keywords and getting through the ATS system. And there are tools out there that do this, but what we teach our audience is to get the human element involved and to get a human being to be able to pull that thing. Because I see people go crazy with trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. They're trying to get this thing in. They're trying to make sure the keywords are just right, but it still goes in the black hole no matter what. And so, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I know it's a controversial topic because some people feel like using tools like that is unfair. The way I look at it is I want to hire somebody who does their homework. And I want somebody who's going to come in and show that they're prepared and show that they're willing to put forth effort. If a candidate submits a resume that has nothing to do with the job we're hiring for, then it's a pretty good clue that they don't do their homework. So I want a candidate that's going to submit a resume that matches the job description. Tools like you described can assess how well it matches the job description. Now, there are people who go overboard that basically copy a job description and put it on their resume. That's not what we're looking for. We want the resume to be honest, but we also want the resume to reflect what skills do you have that match the job description for the job we're hiring for.
Do you feel like there are a lot of maybe qualified candidates who just don't have the skill of resume writing? Like that's not their skill set. They have everything else you might need, but that's not their main skill is resume writing. So they don't ever get through the first stage of the process, which is unfortunately the resume, right? Do you feel like some people are overlooked just because they can't master that part?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, very few of us are taught resume writing in school. Most high schools don't offer it. Most colleges don't offer it. Writing an effective resume is extremely easy, but you need somebody to tell you how to do it. So that's part of why I started publishing books, is I couldn't find a very simple, very clear book that explained how to write resumes. So one of the books I published is called Start to Finish Resume Guide, and it's designed to tell people, hey, here's the basic information that you need to include in your experience section. Here's how you should write a bullet point. Here's what you should and shouldn't include in your education section. So I wanted to break it down in the simplest way possible so people had a resource they could go and look at. In an hour, they can basically write their own resume that matches the jobs they want.
That is awesome. What's the name of the book?
It's called Start to Finish Resume Guide. And there's a little ticker at the bottom of the screen if people are watching it. It's if you go to AmazingJobSkills.com, it links to all of the books I've published on job search. All of them are available on Amazon. And most of them are available in Kindle, paperback, and audio format.
That is awesome. Very cool. So you basically given them a step-by-step guide on how to maximize that resume, because you know it is the first stage of the process, right? And well, it could be, right? It could be the first stage of the process. I try to teach my audience to go try to network first and try to get that human element before you even apply. A lot of times that can help. If I can get Richard on the line, right, before I apply, then me and him can have a conversation. And then even if the resume doesn't get through the ATS, he's a human being. He can actually pull it out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually have a different book that takes people through all the steps of the job search. For me, the first step is figuring out what jobs you want. Because if you can identify which jobs you're targeting, it makes it a lot easier to network and a lot easier to write your resume and a lot easier to prepare your interview answers. But that was another thing I couldn't find. I couldn't find a good job search book that took people through every step of the process. So in absence of a good book, I ended up just writing one and publishing it. So
I love that.
That book's also available. But I feel like it's hard to find resources that are really simple and really direct. And so when you can't find something, you end up building it yourself.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you doing that. There's so much to the job search, you know, and if you've been working and you're just getting thrown into this job search, you know, our audience, you know, it happens a lot to them where they've been working at a company for 20 years or whatever, and this is the first time they've had to look for a job. And it's like, you know, they're a fish out of water, and they're having to start from ground zero, building a LinkedIn profile. Like, they don't even have a LinkedIn profile. They're starting a LinkedIn and learning how to do this, and resumes, and just like the whole process. It can be very, very overwhelming, very challenging. And so I love that you are trying to help people get that step-by-step guide. It's something I'm extremely passionate about too, because it's a huge problem that the community is having, is figuring out this job search, you know, game.
Yeah, and right now it's especially tough because a lot of companies have pulled back on hiring and a lot of people have lost their jobs. So right now, it used to be you might, when the job market's hot, you might have one resume you can send out to every company and hope somebody replies to you. That's much less likely to work now. So what I'm advising the people I'm coaching is customize your resume to highlight the experience you have and the qualifications you have that match the job description. So I have some people I'm coaching that have 7 or 8 different versions of their resume that are written to highlight specifically what they've done that matches each of those 7 or 8 jobs.
Yeah, so kind of like have a master resume, right? I've heard a lot of people talk about that, where they'll have like a 10-pager, like that has everything. It's like a master. And then they go, depending on what job that they're applying for, they'll go and take pieces and you know, put together their 1 or 2 page resume to submit, but they have like a 10-page master resume.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And it's really important that people document everything they've ever done that could relate to a job they want. You might have taken a class in college that's a perfect fit for a qualification on a job description. So you want to remember, like, what are your transcripts? What duties did you have in different jobs? What software programs do you know? And if the job description asks for it, then pull it onto your resume. If the job description doesn't ask for it, you don't have to have a 10-page resume. Most companies
how far back should you go? Because I've heard people talk about, you know, like, you don't want to go past 10 years, things like that. And, you know, you just hear a lot of stuff when it comes to resumes. It seems like there's always 10 different opinions on how to do a resume. So what are your thoughts? How far back would that become relevant? Like you said, if it was a class you took in college, but you're 55 years old, is that something you would bring in to your resume or not?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the way I would look at it is, a resume isn't a autobiography. You shouldn't include every experience you've ever had. It's a print advertisement. And your print advertisement should look at your target audience and say, hey, they want these benefits. I'm going to give them the benefits regardless of when I did them. If I designed a website 30 years ago and it's super relevant to their job description, then I have experience they want. If the job I've been doing for the last year isn't as relevant, then I'm going to minimize that section of my resume. So for me, it's much more about relevance than it is to focus on the time-bound nature.
Would you leave a gap job on there? Because a lot of times I know, you know, if there's a gap in that resume.
Yeah, it's a great question. I had a friend that I've coached where he had a bunch of job gaps, or he had a bunch of unrelated experiences. What we did on his resume is we picked the 3 jobs that were the most relevant, and we put those front and center on his resume. And then at the bottom, we just listed other experience, and we listed one-liners on the jobs that were less relevant or during his gap years. Again, the employer wants to see the experience you have that's relevant. Most employers now aren't scared off by gap years. Right. A lot of people stay at home to raise their kids, or they take time off to travel, or they start a business that may not work out. So it's not like it was 20 years ago when employers thought that if you had a gap year, you were either unemployable or you were in prison. Now they figure if you have a gap year, you just went and you did something else, and you can document that, but don't use up your resume with gap years. Use up your resume. Most of the content should be the relevant experience based on the job description for the job you want.
Love that.
Good.
Agreed.
Yeah. So again,
all right. And that was great. You've given us some awesome things to think about, Rich. Thank you so very much for coming on. We really appreciate you taking the time with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine.
Absolutely.
I love what you're doing, and I'm really encouraged by you helping people get jobs.
Hey, Richard, let's connect on.
Thank you so very much. If you're looking for an office to go.
All right. That sounds good. Thanks.
Yes, connect on LinkedIn. Absolutely.
Yes, my name's on the bottom of the ticker, and I think I'm the only Richard Blazevich on LinkedIn. So let me know if you want to connect.
I think so. I think so.